Hello, sweet souls. This is DTO. Thank you for joining my podcast. And today I get to interview Victoria Roper, who has a beautiful yoga practice and yin techniques and styles that she's going to be sharing with you. And my podcast focuses on healers, leaders, and this series is all about presenters at the Sun Valley Joy Summit that is taking place in Ketchum, Idaho. What a pleasure. Thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you. It's an honor.
Absolutely. And we have this common thread of yoga. Many people know who I am. I'm a award-winning producer endorsed by Deepak Chopra, and I designed an album called Nameless Energy that is a full 60-minute yoga journey that includes the song Breath, as well as has songs that are supportive of like the warrior postures and positions. Yoga is like this from the valley to the mountains, and you go back into the valley called Shavasana, corpse pose, and I have a song called Bursting Stars. So I design music for yoga. So it's a pleasure to connect with you because I know one of your specialties, of course, is the restorative yoga. And because I was classically trained on piano, you see my pianos behind me. Always big gratitude for my mother for having me stay inside when all my friends were playing and doing all the piano scales and lessons and practice and practice and practice. Then I got to run outside and play with my friends and made it even more special. But the music that I have been able to add to yoga practices have been so lovely. And I'm grateful that so many of you are listening to this podcast today because you get to hear what restorative and yin yoga practices are like. And we invite everyone, of course, to attend the Sun Valley Joy Summit. And before we kick off, I want to share with everyone a beautiful photo of you, Victoria. And you will be presenting on the Sunday, June 15th at 9 a.m. And your workshop is titled The Joy of Being Yoga. This workshop is open to beginners and experienced yogis alike, offering a supportive space to explore breath, stillness, and movement as pathways to deeper joy. I love that. So, as a 5Q interview begins, question number one for you is tell us a little bit about yourself, and you can expand on what you're going to be sharing at the Sun
Yes.
Valley Joy Summit.
Okay, great. So I'm an Idaho native, born and bred. So I grew up with mountains and lakes and rivers and desert. And I went off to school back east and I ended up in Peru. And everything I loved about Peru, I loved about Idaho, the hot springs, the mountains, the volcanic rock. And I was at the age late teens, early 20s, where you're exploring spirituality. And I was impressed that the Incas worshiped the sun because the sun is pure energy. And in Peru, at the part I was in, extreme sun in Arequipa, there's a misty volcanic mountain. And I was working with children with special needs. And I came across the definition of trust that is the reliance on the nonverbal communication of another in a high risk situation. So it's about the vibrations, it's about what our gut is telling us to believe or not believe, our intuition, that energy. And feeling another's energy and knowing that this person is safe too. I was working with blind children and they really needed to trust the adults who were working with them in movement and just to be guided around where they in an environment they couldn't see. So they learned to trust their other senses. Later, I worked with the deaf. They learned to trust their other senses. So my yoga path was beginning at that very same time, 1968, 69-ish, 69. And I didn't have a lot of instruction then, but it was already moved by it because it was getting me to be still and present in a way that I hadn't known before that. So I began my journey early on, but not without a lot of good teaching at the get go. So that came later, and it's been a journey the whole 50 plus years. And I think that that's what I want to share is how much we can revere this practice of yoga and pranayama in particular. It's music too. It's all about sound. The asanas, the poses are about sight. The breathing it's about the sound. You learn to listen to the instrument of your own breath. And of course, in Peru, there are lots of quenas, wooden flutes, and lots of vibrational instruments. But we are a musical instrument with our breath. And that's something we'll be focusing on. And the reason that's so compatible with yin yoga and restorative yoga is we come into these places where we stay and inhabit the pose. Asana means to take a seat. So we really sit down in a pose. So even if it's a standing pose, we embody it and we use that time and energy to be fully present and listen to our breath and use the breath to move us through in and out of these poses. So yin is conducive because it's also impacting the connective tissue. I think Judy's also doing a thing that talks about the fascia. So the fascia, the ligaments, the tendons, these are denser tissue that we can impact. Energy can get in there. It just takes a little longer maybe to impact it. And restorative, it's in the name, rest. We rest and we restore in restorative yoga. And it's always with the background music of the breath and playing with the breath and using different ways to fill the lungs more, empty the lungs more, play with the ratio of the inhale and the exhale. There's so much to pranayama that can be practiced when we slow down and do these slower forms of yoga like yin and restorative.
Mm, yes, to rest.
Mhm.
Feels like in the Western world, we're just going and going, and there's to-do lists, and there's stress, and there's anxiety, and of course, more than ever, fear. And to bring us back to the breath and to rest is so key. So I loved how you spoke specifically about like some of the mechanics of how it's done. So question two
Mhm.
gets in more of like the results, because at
Mhm.
the Sun Valley Joy Summit, it's all about joy. So because your
Mhm.
workshop focuses on yin and restorative yoga, how do these specific styles that are in your zone of genius, how have they supported your students to become more present and to experience joy?
Wonderful question. Um, so much of joy, we just have to make the soil fertile to receive it. We can't always control when it visits us. It's like a butterfly landing. We don't have any control over it. It comes to us. And so if we can be in stillness where the muscles are learning to relax and where we're really letting go, in the exhales, letting go, and in a pose where we're reclining, earth supported. Yin and restorative are very earth, Mother Earth, Pachamama, earth supported practices because the body parts have lots of contact with the earth. So we don't always need to sit up with a straight spine or stand, but we're still elongating and creating space that is liberating. And when the mind can focus on the breath, it's in the present. So when the mind wanders, that's when we can go into the past, the future, and worry and do that perseverating on a thought. So to still the mind, that's what yoga is about, stilling the cessation, maybe not ceasing, but slowing down the fluctuations of the mind, the chitta vritti. And so we come into configurations of the body where the lungs can expand. And in this, you can see after a class people's faces are more relaxed. They're joyful, maybe in a quiet way, or maybe just in a lighter way. So they might feel more like playing instead of grabbing back these to do lists and these actions that they're driven to, that we're all being pelleted by news information and stressors. And so to just create that space, that timeout time for body and breath, the breath is the connection. And so it connects us to the higher states of mind from our physical body. So in Hatha Yoga, we believe that the physical body is the temple for this practice.
Mm-hmm. I love the concept of our bodies are our temples and the ashram, and yeah, to come home and return to that key part of who we are. And wouldn't you agree, Victoria, that so many of us somehow are societal programming pops in and we feel like, oh, the answers are outside of us, right? We
Yeah.
need to bring in
Mm-hmm.
this, some
Yeah.
materialistic world.
Yes.
And isn't it true? Like all of this wisdom is right here, right
That's
now.
right. We uncover, we discover, we discard what isn't us to get to the authentic self in stillness. And the beauty of the Joy Summit is it's in community.
Mm,
So I call other human beings my God with skin on, because we're creating this energy together as every group has its own personality, its own energy. So you have a lot of wonderful people who want to be more joyful and are health minded. Being in these sessions together with wonderful leaders and teachers, it just builds more of the kind of community we can trust, because we do want to feel safe. We can trust ourselves more, and we know people out there that we can trust more.
absolutely. And Hillary Anderson has what a magnetic soul to call forward all of these powerful leaders and teachers to come and unite in community in person, right? Where you can hug each other and be
That's right.
together and connect
Skin
and
on skin.
laugh. Yeah, absolutely. Have a meal together. It's a
Break
whole
bread. Yes.
beautiful, back to basics concept.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. So simple and so necessary. Yeah.
absolutely. So, question three
Mm-hmm.
goes into the pranayama part of what you're teaching people.
Mm-hmm.
So, breath
Mm-hmm.
work plays a key role in your session.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share how pranayama supports us to become present in this moment and how breath work has been so powerful for you in your life as well as your
Mm-hmm.
students?
Mm-hmm. So prana is that life force energy. Chi, there's other words for it. Prana is carried on the vehicle of the breath. So when we come into this world, when we're born, that first inhale and then that cry of an infant, or that breath, is they're breathing on their own. They're not relying on their mother anymore to breathe. And so from birth until death, and if we've ever witnessed a death, we know that when a person stops breathing, that life force energy is exiting. It's the body, but without the energy. So just the importance of breath in everyday life. And no one usually teaches us. Sometimes music teachers in the past would teach us how to breathe for singing or playing an instrument, or maybe in some sports. But it's not like most of us grew up learning how to breathe well. And so we tend to be more shallow breathers. So pranayama is the extension of the breath, and it's creating a more fullness. So we're taking on more pranic energy. And when we exhale more completely, we're letting go and creating more space for more new air and energy and prana to come into our bodies. So when we play with all of this, we discover the pot that we're breathing into in the torso, and we get to see what different breaths do for us, because sometimes we do a shallow, faster, more emphatic exhale, or we do a pause between the beginning of an exhale and the end of it. So we're cutting across the grain of a loma breath, where we pause during an inhale. We don't exhale again, we pause, and then we inhale more. All of these things teach us about our breath in a way that, for me, has given me comfort when I've been in surgery or had trauma, hitting an elk and feeling like the airbag is what saved my life. The the practice, the discipline of, where's my breath? Can I move it more slowly? Can I slow my pulse down by slowing my breathing down? We can. There's it's a way of a barometer. And once we start practicing pranayama, we start noticing our breath and the rest of our day. So when am I holding my breath because I'm anxious? When am I breathing more shallowly? And can I stop right then and there and do it differently? So we practice together in these sessions, and then we go out and we try to generalize that in the rest of our lives. So it's better for my circulation, it's better for my health, it's enhanced all my coping skills. And I see my students saying the same thing, that, wow, I didn't know I wasn't breathing completely. And so it's like we're explorers in our own body, terra incognita for some of us. So it's a journey, it's an expedition, and it's pretty much never ending.
Mhm. Absolutely. the moment you feel you've completed and that you are finished with learning or growing, I always remind myself I'm in the classroom of
Yeah.
life called Earth, right? There's so many. And, I live in Costa Rica now at our wellness and retreat center in Body, and, has 5% of the world's biodiversity, two times the amount of bird species than the US and Canada combined. And this is a tiny little country the size of West Virginia. And every day I'm just like, so many birds and so much nature. And, it'd be a full time job to become a birder and memorize just one single, type of organism on planet Earth. And then you think of so many other beings and our own journey as humans and what we're learning about ourselves and our consciousness and how we can expand. So, question 4 dives into more of that, which is, so for someone brand new, let's say someone that's 20 miles away from you in Idaho that's never really done yoga or breath work, that might be like, oh, I'm interested in coming to the Sun Valley Joy Summit, but I'm a beginner. Maybe it's not for me. So, what's one simple practice or one way that you get to start out a session with someone like that? So then they feel that you're meeting them where they're at and you're making it like a practical beginning startup point for then they can start to cultivate presence and joy in their lives.
Wow, big question. So, two things really come to mind strongly for beginners. And of course, the first one is when we're sitting, we want to sit up. If you say sit in a noble posture, people sit up straight more. And there's lots of vocabulary around how to sit. But BKS Iyengar has said that it's the spine's job to keep the brain alert. And so, and all aspects of the mind. And so when we're slouching or slumping, he says it's like a narcotic. It dulls the mind. And so if you just slump, you don't feel and you don't think as well as when you open things up and stand up tall. So some of it is just what's my alignment when I'm standing. So to work on that, just simply if I'm in a line somewhere and I just take my hand back across my back body and grab my other arm, that opens my chest. That opens my chest so I can breathe better. So lots of details around a good mountain pose, but just opening the chest in situations where we might round, that awareness is the first step. And the other one is Shavasana. Shavasana is so easy, but it's not just lying down on the floor. There's more to it than that. We look for symmetry in our lying down. So if you can be on the floor with your arms at like a 45-degree angle, the palms of the hands up, the backs of the hands even resting on the same knuckle, one hand as the other hand. So we're looking for symmetry. And you might lift your head and see that your chin aligns with your sternum and your navel and your pubic bone, and the legs are symmetrical and the arms are symmetrical. And then you've stretched the back of the neck nicely. You put the head back down and you just lie on the floor, feeling the vibration of your own breath and the earth beneath you, and see if you can relax by slowing down the breath.
Thank you for that guidance. I'm already feeling. By the way,
Nice.
I do these podcasts standing up for the exact same reason you said. Like, keeps my chest open, keeps me not slouching. And actually, right next to me, I have a vocal booth where people record guided meditations or they sing. No chairs in there. I tell people, and again, my mom's a vocal coach, piano teacher, and you just have this presence when you're upright and you allow for your expansion in your lungs, because you don't want to also compress your rib cage because it's there to protect you. It's not to squash or have you feel restricted or constricted. And what
those
you and I
ribs
were
can expand.
Yeah. And the more that you open up your wings, just like the birds we were talking about, you get to fly and you get to feel free. And what I've learned, I've done A/B tests with people. I had someone that was demanding, no, I want to sit in a chair. I want to sit in a chair. And it had nothing to do with her physical self. She's like, I just feel more comfortable in this. I just want to sit down because she's so used to sit. And I said, okay, let's play a game. Sit down and record a guided meditation and then stand up, open your chest, take some breaths and connect, root to rise, all of your energy centers. And when she listened back, she was like, you're right, DTO. Because you don't
Great.
realize you start to slouch, you start to
That's a,
crouch. And
that's a
as,
great example.
yeah, in a human species, we weren't designed to just stay seated. And that's one of the, someone told me once, like, sitting is the new smoking. Like,
Mm,
like
mm,
just sitting down all the
mm,
time, it is
mm,
not good for us.
mm.
And it's, we just had an incredible retreat leader that came to our center, and she's 83. And she said, number one, keep moving. That was her advice. Just keep moving, because she has a vision of her reaching her 90s, 100. She's like, everyone I know that's in that age category is like, just
Yeah.
keep moving forward.
Mm,
And so
mm,
standing and being present and moving the body, that's all a part of what you're sharing with people, right? Breath work. And it doesn't
exactly.
have to be work. It's just
No,
breath play,
no.
right?
Yeah, exactly. Make it fun. If it's not fun, I'm not so inclined to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And, at the end of all of this, the whole intention is to have presence and have joy. And what I've personally had as results of pranayama and restorative yoga is creativity. All of a sudden, I feel like
Mhm.
I've become this open channel, and these ideas musically or just creatively how to live my life. Like, ooh, I want to do this and that. And, here I am living in Costa Rica. And some of these premonitions and visions I got from taking yoga classes in the States. That's where
We
my
are
journey
in,
began.
we are inspired, inspiration. We're
Mm-hmm.
taking that inspiration and we get inspired.
Mm-hmm. Sounds right. Respiration, inspiration. It's all like
Yeah,
in the same category.
respire. Spirit,
Respirar,
spirit.
inspirar.
Yeah,
And I
spirit
love
and
that you were in Peru as
spirit.
well, because that's a whole lifestyle. And that's, so much
Mhm.
fresh air in the Andes Mountains and people just living in nature. And it's such a really beautiful lesson for us, especially that grew up in North America. It's like, a shelter is just a shelter to, protect yourself, not to like consistently be there. And that's what I love about Latin America is people are outdoors, people are in parks and with family and outings. And I had an amazing experience in Peru as well, being there. And I just
Good.
like
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
back to basics and just, witnessing other cultures and societies that I
And the
feel
Wind
are
River
in it.
Valley Wind River Valley is the same as why I live
Mm-hmm.
here in
Yeah,
the
you said those
United States.
parallels, right? The hot springs and the mountains.
People are hiking, we're biking, we're skiing, we're
Absolutely.
outdoors.
Yeah. And I was on your
So come
Instagram.
to Sun Valley.
Of course. Yeah. And on your Instagram, I saw some beautiful photos of
Yeah.
you hiking and skiing and all of that.
Mhm.
So this leads us to the last question, question
Mhm.
5. So, how can people connect with you and continue learning from you
Okay,
prior to attending the Sun Valley Joy Summit? And of course, during the summit, they can reach out to you as well as
absolutely.
afterwards. So, what's the
Mhm.
best way that people can reach you?
So I'm on Facebook and Instagram both, and yeah, and I'll be posting a little more about pranayama between now and the summit.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. So let's talk about the Sun Valley Joy Summit. Here is the flyer. And we'll make sure that in the show notes below in the description, everyone will go to Victoria Roper Yoga at Instagram so they can follow you there. And you can see all these amazing presenters.
Oh, great lineup.
Mm-hmm. And everyone can see here it's June 11th through the 15th, 2025. This is the third annual Sun Valley Joy Summit. And so many incredible days. And here is on the 15th, the joy of being yoga. Wonderful. And yeah, all these presenters, I'm sure you all know each other, or if you don't know each other yet, I'm sure there's new people that Hillary brings every year. And yeah, it just becomes this really incredible community for people to unite, come together in person, as we said, in the flesh. And yeah, and then the podcast that we're on right now, for anyone that wants to watch other podcasts, including this one, there's a link directly at the Sun Valley Joy Summit, and you can watch any of these to learn more about the presenters. And I'm super honored and grateful, Victoria, that we got to connect today
Oh,
and share some of your wisdom and magic with everyone.
likewise, likewise.
And we invite everyone out there to go to the Sun Valley Joy Summit.com, buy your tickets, and let's bring more community together to unite enjoy. It's our birthright, right? To be happy.
Enjoy.
Beautiful. All right. Thank you, Victoria.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
You're welcome.